You're wasting time with Arrow Productions. Here are 3 things you won't find in alternate history. The Sports Edition. Number 1. What if the UCI had not banned recumbents in 1934? Recumbent bicycles go back to the 1800s. The earliest I found was from 1896. This is Francis Faure setting the hour record in 1933. These bikes tend to be safer because you lead with your feet instead of your head. They are also more aerodynamic, which makes them faster. The UCI, cycling sanctioning body, decided to ban them. Here's what would have happened had they been more reasonable. Human-powered transportation would have advanced, bicycles would be faster and more practical, and they would be more viable as commuters. We would not have the current situation in racing of strong riders and weak machines. The care of carbon fiber bike constructions are ridiculous, extending even to how you lean them against the wall. UCI racing bicycles, such as you find in the Tour de France, are now similar to cars in NASCAR. Both are interesting engineering exercises, but they are useless without a race governed by an arcane rulebook. Number 2. What if the American soccer wars had never happened? Towards the end of the 1920s, soccer was on its way to becoming one of the dominant outdoor sports. At the same time, conflicts arose. It was between teams and their leagues, between the leagues themselves, and between all of them in various tournaments. Of course, FIFA arguably made it worse. After that, association football in the US was on the way out, and American football started to take over at the professional level. If the organizations had run more smoothly, the sport would have grown. Growth would have meant more talent, which would have carried the US to at least 3 World Cup victories. As it was, this edition of the US team came in third at the first World Cup in 1930. After World War II, the US went on to beat England in 1950. When would the US have gone all the way? The Aero production speculation would put the victories after the war. Had war been avoided, the US likely would have won in 1942. Post-war cups could have included 1950, where the US did well, and 1966. The English victory in 1966 indicates a weak field where a viable US team could have triumphed. Throughout the Cup's history, there has never been a UK team, and the constituent countries usually don't go very far. Could the US have broken through the later dominance of West Germany and Brazil? We'll never know, but they might have had a chance when these two were in some of their off years. Number 3. What if the Chargers had kept John Jefferson in 1981? The San Diego Chargers had a spectacular passing game. With a few more stars, the Chargers would have gone on to the Super Bowl and victory. Instead, they went in the other direction and got rid of John Jefferson, one of the game's great receivers. This trade, which sent him to Green Bay, was the beginning of the end of Air Coryell. It was also the perfection of the San Diego model. The top-tier sports teams in San Diego are meant to be interesting and profitable, but winning isn't part of the equation. All things being equal, a San Diego team will finish in the middle of the pack. Better than average years mean a trip to the playoffs, which sells more tickets and creates media revenue. By design, the bench is never deep enough for the team to go all the way. If the Chargers had kept John Jefferson, they would have won at least one Super Bowl, and fan expectations would have gone up. As it stands today, the Chargers are now in Los Angeles, still using the same model. Last year wasn't their year, and this year is unlikely to be notable. Their baseball counterparts, the Padres, remain in San Diego and use the same model. They are still an expansion team in the sixth decade of their efforts to field a winner. That's it. 3 things you won't find in alternate history, the sports edition. What things are there in sports that we missed that you won't find in alternate history? Let us know in the comments.